Let me see what else I got. The Lila Rose clip we're going to go through, so I'm going to skip over these retweets. I said girlfriends behave better than wives because, I thought about it. Oh, I made a slideshow for this, actually. I did make a slideshow. And, in a way, getting legally married is putting yourself in a non-traditional relationship. Okay, hear me out. It's actually, I would argue, it's more traditional to be a girlfriend than a wife. Now, you might say, Pearl, that's so crazy. Pearl, that's insane. And I would even go further to say situationships act like more of girlfriends than wives. And men that date for marriage have a tendency to never know what that is like, to have a woman completely obedient and on your program. Because once you give the woman what she wants, then we go nuts. So here's the ways women can destroy you, right? So these are the ways women have leverage. Police, reputation destruction, as we saw in the first video, family court. And there's like a million other ways. So, feel free in the comments to put things I should add to this. But I want to make this simple. The only thing men have is cheating and walking away. Like women being afraid you're going to cheat and women being afraid that you're going to walk away. And the challenge you have is when you get married, you're taking away, you're saying God is going to smite you down or whatever. You're going to go to hell if you sleep with another woman or walk away. So that's your only leverage. So they're basically saying, they're like, okay, tell your woman no. You are wrong. You're wrong as a man for not being able to say no, your woman. You're a simp. I do say that. I do. I'm sorry. I'm a nagger too. All right. But, and to some extent, I would agree. However, when the church comes in and says you can't divorce or sleep with anyone else ever again, it's like, okay, you're basically saying get cucked. Because how is he going to enforce that no? How can he enforce it? Can he go to the police and say, my wife isn't sleeping with me? No. Okay, you're telling me this is the cops from the Batman movie? Why are you nagging me about my PowerPoint? I made this quick before the show. All right. Are the men really going to lie as good or as well as the women? No. I guess you could do that back. That is an option. Not a bad option. You fight fire with fire. And then she could take your house, your kids, and just ruin your life. But this is the natural order of the world, right? So God can enforce things on man because God can just smite you down. So he can say, he could say, okay, you're going to get cancer because you're a terrible person. And then we got women next. But the man cannot enforce anything on the woman. And the woman can enforce everything on the man. So it's actually, it goes God, woman, man, children. That's the order of the world now. That's how it is now. And no amount of praying is going to change this because the relationship is only traditional, quote unquote traditional, if the woman says it should be. And can we be honest here? We are crazy. Our default is just insane. And so because of that, you cannot have a traditional relationship in 2025. It doesn't exist because it's all dependent on if the woman feels like it. And some days, look, you guys, and I try to be honest about this. When I was doing my show, I'd always say we as modern women. I do the best I can, but even me, there are days where I wake up and I'm like, God, why was I a bitch for no reason? And I'll feel really guilty about it. I'll give attitude or I'll nag. I'll just, and I wish I did it, but I know that this is our default programming. And so the only leverage that you're going to have as a man, and that's why I would actually argue that the most traditional relationships are actually situationships, because the woman is begging to get commitment. Oh, wait, actually, I should have added that. Walk away kind of goes towards commitment, but giving commitment and taking it away. That's really it. I mean, you can't hit a bitch anymore. No, can't do that. Okay, so let's get into today's topic. We're talking about Lila Rose. I had a point that said women want to be a bitch, and if you do not straight up confront them to their face because you don't feel like dealing with their bullshit, you become the bad guy. Okay, so welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily. Society demonizes men and the male sex drive. I would expect this from liberal women because, face it, a lot of them are fat and just generally unattractive to the type of men they want. The same women talking about the male gaze and how women are objectified will never know what either of those are like because they aren't hot enough for men to make money off of their looks. Sadly, the right does this as well. Fake tradcon women are doing their best to shame men out of their natural urges by using the Bible and theology to suppress the male sex drive. I came across this tweet here and it sparked the idea for the show. All right, so Lila Rose says men don't need sex. Our culture is hypersexualized that the idea of a celibate priest leaves people in disbelief as if it's impossible. That's heartbreaking. Have we forgotten that self-control and virtue are within reach? Look at Jesus Christ, the most perfect man to ever walk the earth was celibate and sinless before he was crucified for our sins. Shouldn't he be the supreme model for manhood, self-mastery, discipline, total self-gift out of all love? Priests choose celibacy so their hearts can belong entirely to God, as St. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians. I want you to be free from anxieties. The unmarried man is anxious about the things of the Lord and how to please the Lord, but the married man is anxious about worldly things, but how to please his wife. Yeah, because he can't. That's like an impossible task. Of course he's going to be anxious about it. And his interests are divided. I say this to your own benefit, to secure your undivided devotion to the Lord. Abstinence isn't just for priestess. Intermittent abstinence can also be a beautiful practice within marriage. If a couple has a serious reason to delay bringing a baby into the world when practicing natural family planning, spouses can indulge or grow in self-mastery, deepen their love, and remain faithful to God's design for marriage. Christ is the model, love is the reason, holiness is the goal. So it's just like, Lila, who are you to say this? I just don't understand where women get off nagging men about their behavior. And she said this when she came on my show. All right, here we go.
Can we all talk about Father Mike Schmitz? I showed him to a girlfriend who's not Catholic, and she's like, when's Mass? What about the man needing sex?
So right now they're lusting over like the guy in the front and then signaling purity. It's like the audacity. The audacity. And you know what? Christians used to treat sex as a need. They really did. And this is the problem. In the old days, you got a wife, you got your sexual problem solved for you at 16. And they treated sex as a need. So they said, look, I know you're going to start wanting to have sex, but instead of shaming a natural urge, here's your wife. Here's your trad wife, and you'll be married by 22. Go off, have your children. But now, I mean, maybe the girls would sleep around at 15 or 16, but it was done early. Your sexual problem was solved. But now, you know, men can't help what's on the menu. Wives are not, you know, if you go to a restaurant and you keep trying to order a wife and that's not on the menu, that's not your fault. That's not your fault. And so women are shaming men for responding to what is on the menu. They didn't ask for this society to be built like this. They didn't ask for women to be going for like 10% of men. They didn't ask for that. But that's what's on the menu. That's what they have to choose from. So what tends to happen is the women, they want the privilege of choosing their own husband, of marrying for love and also getting to signal purity. Nah, bitch. You don't get both. Get an arranged marriage young. If you didn't marry young, I don't believe you're pure. And I don't.
What about the man needing sex? That's just a cultural narrative that basically says men are like animals and they have to be able to do this sexual thing. Otherwise, they're going to go crazy. And the reality is there's whole vocations that are celibate.
Yeah. And how did that go? How did that celibacy go, Lila?
And these are virile men's men. Some of the most masculine of men I know are priests. We need food. We need air to breathe. We don't need sex. It's a gift of coming together. And it's so evil because you're basically telling people not to live a part of life. You're trying to shame people into not, like, that's a part of, like, taking a girl on a date. That's a part of life, getting a girlfriend. And unfortunately, because of whores are on the menu, really the only way to get a wife these days is to, you got to go through the whores. I don't say this in a happy way, but most people don't marry the first person they're with. It's just how it is. I wish it wasn't like this. But this is what's on the menu. And if the conservatives really cared, if they really cared about stopping promiscuity, they would be pushing arranged marriages, but they're not. They do not care. They don't. They would have an arranged marriage set for their daughter when she turns 18 and say, you don't get your inheritance unless you marry this guy. Even then, it would not be foolproof. But we do not like the idea of forcing women to use their sexuality on a husband that they're not attracted to. I'm not even saying that we should go that way. But please, God, do not purity signal to me. If you're doing do not shame the male sex drive. Then the trad E-men will say, oh, they're so much better, because they're abstinent. They act like they're morally better. But can we, are they really not watching porn? They're just substituting one sin for another. And I'm just the one trying to be honest about this conversation. I'm trying to be honest and have this conversation because this will waste years of your life. This will waste years of people's life.
Designed to bring life into the world. I think the sexiest thing about a guy is like their self-control. And my husband has amazing self-control. So after baby number 4.
So again, this is conservative women using their marriage and their family to build their brand. I had Rachel on here the other day, and Rachel, she's trying to convince me that it's good. And I'm sorry, and this is hypocritical because, years ago, I was in a public relationship, right? And I know firsthand all the ways it's a terrible idea. I've lived it. And I'll tell you what, when you bring this, and the thing is, when you are in political topics and you're bringing your family into it, you're bringing them in the crossfire. It's one thing if you're doing like a cooking channel, who cares? But you guys are covering contentious issues that people get shot over in history. So, I don't have a problem with I don't even want to say it's a problem. Because it's not immoral, but I don't think it's strategic, right? If Lila Rose came on here and she's given the up and down about the abortion and getting really technical, there's nothing wrong with that to me. But when you're bringing your husband into it and now he's responsible for, people thinking you're a good person. That's a different story,
When we started practicing NFP, it was like we couldn't do it sometimes when we wanted to. And that kind of made things a little steamier, not gonna lie. It's hard on him.
For you. But see, this is personal stuff. Men value privacy. They do. They really do.
Him too, don't get me wrong. People will say, well, oh, do you just do other things for your husband? Can we all talk about Father Mike Schmidt?
Yeah, okay. The responses are cooking her. Further evidence why God commanded women to not be teachers in church and be quiet. Insufferable yapping with authority is why so many men find no need to subject themselves to the modern church. Conversations like this make Christians look stupid. Men need sex. This lady is retarded. Women shouldn't have anything to say about what men need and don't need. There's a reason Christian men are the biggest consumers of porn. What man hurt you? This is insane. Men should have self-control around their wives. 1 Corinthians. This is just giving women the excuse to deny their husbands. Wait, let me see this.
Happened. These bitches are literally retarded. My notes say that's not at all what happened. These bitches are literally retarded.
Oh my God. Prudes like Lila Rose don't like sex at all and will gaslight you endlessly into suffering because they don't put out. That's the other thing. This whole waiting for marriage. I see how it would be pragmatic as a society, but in 2025, I don't see it working. I think guys are kind of stupid if they sign up for that, if I'm being honest. Because, you know, there's a guy I knew in London. He did that, right? He was the Christian guy and he got married. His wife didn't like sex, or at least not with him. This clip begins with them sexualizing a priest. I know, the audacity. I was telling someone before the show, you know, they say women or men will screw anything. I actually think women will screw anything more than men will screw anything. I think that's actually projection. Now, I have to be careful with what I'm thinking about. Sometimes I have thoughts and I'm like that, and there's no upside to saying that. I got to be filtered a little bit. But the Christian men, right? The Christian men. The Christian women, a lot of them, like, they're so repressed and they have so much guilt attached to sex. That's really not normal. It's really not. But, oh, that's what sorry. I blanked out for a second. So talking about women, like, they always say men will screw anything. And I just don't think that's true, you know, because men, they're risk averse, right? So if the girls... If it, you know, men might find out they hooked up with a girl, they might not do it. If they think she has a big mouth, if they think she might ruin their money, like there's many reasons, Matt. Like an example is I think a lot of men have left education because they just don't want a false accusation. Where women, I mean, they're clearly not afraid of a false accusation. If you've seen the news, I mean, they're screwing these young boys. And they're like putting out, like they're not even careful at all. You know, they're just, I can't even believe it. Some of these cases are coming out. So like, if you look at women's exes, there's always one women aren't proud of where it was just the right guy, to any woman that says they haven't had one. I'm like, yeah, okay. Can we stop like playing pretend here? Not one? Really? When did you get married? Oh, 27, 28, 32. And really in a decade, you didn't have one? You thought that was a bad idea? Even Caitlin Bennett, the replies are crazy. How many people have never heard of Catholic priests before? Yeah, how did that work out, Caitlin? If men don't need sex, women don't need emotional validation or cuddles. You aren't going to die with them, right? Yeah, do you know what? It's like men, in a way, you know, they're kind of responsible for women's like emotion. Not completely. It's your own responsibility. But yeah, she definitely did not marry someone she's attracted to. She's trying to cope. You sound like a sex-hating feminist. No one should listen to this dishwasher. Your proof is priest, the same priest that had a problem with boys in the 90s. All right, let me go back to the... So here goes Lila trying to tell men what they should and shouldn't be doing. And I had her on my show and I asked her why she, as a Christian, felt like it was her place to tell men what Christian doctrine says it's not. She didn't have a good answer. None of these women